Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff.
Every day I'm working on that case. Every day we're figuring something out. Every day we're talking to investigators. And that's essentially what Alex did on this case.
All right, let's move on now.
Oh my God, you are not going to believe this. The Diddy courtroom saga just took the most shocking turn ever. Tony Buzbee, the legal powerhouse leading the charge against the music mogul, has suddenly stepped down from the case. Can you even imagine? This high-profile attorney with a larger-than-life reputation just vanished from what might be the most scandalous case of the decade. How does something like this even happen? And my heart is absolutely breaking for those dozens of alleged victims who put all their faith in Buzbee to finally bring them the justice they deserve.
And that's the sad part, because whether it's a real lawsuit or something that you're just shooting to see if you can get some money, you can sue anybody for anything. But the sad thing about it is if the person loses that suing, nothing happens.
The news hit like an absolute earthquake. Tony Buzbee, you know, the one with that fierce take-no-prisoners courtroom style, had been the face of this massive legal battle. He wasn't just representing a handful of people, he was fighting for over 120 individuals, men and women who claim they endured absolutely horrifying treatment at Diddy's hands. For more than a year, Buzbee had been front and center, making those fiery statements and throwing those bold accusations that made headlines everywhere. And now, with the trial just around the corner, he's out, just like that. The reason? You won't believe it. A technicality that nobody saw coming. Court documents reveal that Buzbee wasn't even admitted to practice law in the Southern District of New York, the very jurisdiction where the Diddy case was filed. I'm still in shock. A tiny administrative oversight snowballed into this full-blown crisis. The judge was having absolutely none of it and demanded Buzbee explain himself by a specific deadline. But instead of fighting to stay on the case, Buzbee just stepped aside, calling it an error in judgment in his letter to the court. He expressed such regret for the distraction his admission status had caused, saying it pulled focus from what really mattered, getting justice for the victims. He promised to fix things, but the damage was already done. He was out, and while he swore his colleagues would keep representing the plaintiffs, let's be real. The captain jumped ship, leaving everyone else to navigate these treacherous waters all alone.
I think, like I said, for me, I was going to ask y'all what y'all predictions is. For me, if Jay-Z is successful at what he's doing right now, it's going to set a principle for a lot of these type of cases.
The fallout from Buzbee's exit was immediate and absolutely devastating. First of all, it sent massive shockwaves through the entire team of attorneys. We need to remember that Buzbee wasn't just another lawyer on the roster. He was the mastermind, the strategist, the one with all the charisma and influence to take on someone as powerful as Diddy. Without him, the prosecution suddenly looked completely vulnerable and unsteady. It was like the entire foundation of this massive legal case had been yanked out from under it.
She hasn't sort of retracted the allegations she made against Diddy, but according to this, she never made them against Jay-Z without the prodding of Buzbee. This is a pretty devastating document if it's true.
It's interesting now because Jay-Z obviously is going after Tony Buzbee and could decimate him because Jay-Z does have a lot of money. They were right about that.
That's right.
And Diddy's legal team? Oh, honey, they pounced fast. Diddy's lawyers, who had been playing defense for months, saw this as the golden opportunity they'd been praying for. They wasted zero time framing Buzbee's withdrawal as proof that the case was falling apart. They were practically gloating as they suggested the plaintiff's legal strategy was in total disarray, questioning the credibility of the entire prosecution. You could practically see the smug smirks on their faces as they huddled together, planning their next moves. With Buzbee out of the picture, they knew they had the perfect opening to strike, and they were absolutely ready to exploit it to the fullest. Behind closed doors, sources close to Diddy's camp described the atmosphere as downright celebratory. There was all this excited chatter about how Buzbee's exit could be the turning point, the exact moment when power shifted in their favor. It was such a morale boost for a team that had been under relentless pressure, facing not just legal challenges, but an absolute avalanche of public scrutiny. Now, with the prosecution scrambling to adjust, Diddy's lawyers suddenly saw a clear path to potentially negotiate a favorable outcome or even dismantle the case completely.
Not do this alone. Do you foresee that there could be other charges related to this case?
I'm not taking anything off the table.
No one wants to mention
But my heart is absolutely breaking for the victims in all of this. For them, Buzbee's withdrawal was nothing short of devastating. So many of them only found the courage to come forward because of his reputation. They truly believed that if anyone could stand up to a cultural icon like Diddy, it was him. They trusted him completely to amplify their voices, to fight for them in a way no one else could. And now, with his sudden departure, they're left wondering if their stories will ever truly be heard, if justice will ever be served for them.
A US judge has ruled that the rapper and producer Sean Diddy Combs will stand trial on federal trafficking and racketeering charges in May. He'll be held in prison until then. Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges that he used his business empire to transport women and male workers across state lines to take part in recorded performances. If convicted, he could face a life sentence.
In the days after the bombshell announcement, reactions came flooding in from absolutely everywhere. Legal analysts couldn't stop debating the fallout, some arguing that Buzbee's absence could completely demolish the prosecution's chances. Others took a more measured view, suggesting that while his departure was undeniably a massive blow, the strength of the case itself would ultimately determine how things played out. But there was no denying the symbolic weight of his exit. It cast this dark, heavy shadow over the entire proceedings, one that the prosecution would have to work incredibly hard to overcome. Meanwhile, speculation about why Buzbee made such an oversight went absolutely wild. Was it really just an innocent mistake like he claimed? Or was there something much deeper going on? Some wondered if the intense pressure of the case had caused him to slip up, while others whispered about conspiracy theories, suggesting that outside forces might have played a role in forcing him out. After all, this wasn't just any case. It involved one of the biggest names in entertainment, a figure with incredibly deep pockets and far-reaching influence. Could there have been some behind-the-scenes maneuvering to push Buzbee out? The questions just kept coming, adding even more intrigue to an already explosive situation. As the dust began to settle, the prosecution faced the absolutely daunting task of regrouping. The remaining attorneys had to step up and prove that the case wasn't dependent on just one man, no matter how central he had been. They needed to reassure the plaintiffs, the court, and the public that the fight for accountability and justice would continue with the same determination. It was a tall order, but there wasn't a moment to waste. The trial date was approaching fast, and the stakes couldn't possibly be higher.
So we've got actually some interesting stories. We're going to lead off with what's going on in that Jay-Z case, which we thought went away. We thought the woman who accused him of with Diddy after the VMAs, I believe back in 2000, had dismissed her case, and you thought it would just go away. It is not. It is.
For Diddy, the timing couldn't have been more perfect. Just as the walls seemed to be closing in, with new allegations and lawsuits piling up daily, this unexpected twist offered him a glimmer of hope. His legal team suddenly had breathing room to recalibrate and mount an even more aggressive defense. And while public opinion remained deeply divided, the legal battlefield was where the real fight would happen. The drama surrounding Tony Buzbee's departure was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The ripple effects of his decision would continue to unfold, influencing not just this case, but the broader story of accountability in the entertainment industry. As tensions mounted, all eyes turned to the interconnected legal battles looming on the horizon, drawing in even more big names and raising even bigger questions.
Let's start with Jay-Z. So remember, the woman who sued as a Jane Doe dismissed her lawsuit with prejudice. She said, I will not be refiling this, but a dismissal with prejudice is just that. It's a document that says, I dismissed this lawsuit. It says nothing else. It doesn't say I lied about the claims. It doesn't say anything. It just says I dismissed the lawsuit.
But the fallout from Tony Buzbee's jaw-dropping departure didn't just create chaos for the case against Diddy. It sent massive waves through an interconnected web of legal battles, dragging in other high-profile names, including, you're not going to believe this, Jay-Z himself. Yes, you heard that right. What started as one case against Diddy has exploded into something so much bigger, a tangled mess of lawsuits, accusations, and counterclaims that could completely rewrite the rules of accountability in the entertainment industry. And at the center of this storm, two of hip-hop's biggest moguls, both fighting desperately for their reputations in courtrooms that grow more chaotic with each passing day. The connection between Diddy and Jay-Z goes way beyond their shared history in music. It's about overlapping allegations and legal strategies that have pulled them both into this whirlwind of controversy. Jay-Z's troubles began when he was named as a defendant in one of the lawsuits tied to Diddy, a lawsuit claiming the two men were involved in an incident that allegedly happened decades ago. The allegations were absolutely explosive, and And while Jay-Z has fiercely denied everything, just having his name connected to such claims sent massive shockwaves through his entire camp.
It's interesting because, you know, obviously this civil suit was coming for a while.
Yep.
And there was some talk between Buzbee and Jay-Z's lawyers. I think both Buzbee and Jay-Z's lawyers are really out.
What's so fascinating about this whole mess is Tony Buzbee's role before his sudden exit from Diddy's case. Buzbee had also been involved in the legal battle against Jay-Z. In fact, Jay-Z went so far as to file a defamation lawsuit against Buzbee, accusing him of making reckless and malicious claims that completely tarnished his reputation. Jay-Z's team held nothing back, alleging that Buzbee cared more about creating headlines than uncovering the truth. And here's the real kicker. They claimed Buzbee had pushed for these lawsuits just to get financial settlements, basically accusing him of manipulating the legal system for his own gain.
I believe that it opens yourself up to some negligence claims. Again, I don't know if Jay-Z is going to go that far, but certainly I think it does open himself up to some negligence claims. Maybe that was part of the reason why he dismissed with prejudice. I don't.
But it doesn't stop there. Jay-Z's lawsuit against Buzbee also brought in private investigators, sworn statements, and so much drama. According to court filings, Jay-Z's team argued that the accusations against him weren't just false, they were deliberately fabricated to extort money from him. They even pointed out glaring inconsistencies in the accuser's story, highlighting how key details just didn't add up. For instance, one claim involved an alleged incident at a music awards after-party, but Jay-Z's legal team presented evidence that he wasn't even at the location described. It was like watching a high-stakes chess match with both sides making bold moves to outmaneuver each other. And then there's the matter of the unnamed accusers. In one lawsuit, the plaintiff actually withdrew her claims, citing fear for her safety and concerns about being publicly identified. But even as she stepped back, she insisted her story was absolutely true. Jay-Z's team, however, spun her withdrawal as proof that the allegations had no merit. They claimed victory in the court of public opinion, framing the dismissal as complete vindication for their client. Yet the shadow of the accusation still loomed large, and the case remained a hot topic in media circles everywhere.
She walked away, got no money,
got nothing.
Over.
And Jay-Z celebrated that, the fact that
We should say, and it was filed by the lawyer who has filed a slew of lawsuits.
What's truly fascinating is how these cases have become completely intertwined, not just legally, but in the public imagination. Diddy and Jay-Z are two of the most recognizable names on the planet, and their reputations have always been central to their brands. For years, they've been seen as these untouchable figures, icons who transcended music to become cultural powerhouses. But now, they're both facing battles that could completely redefine how the world sees them, and perhaps even how they see themselves. Diddy has been dealing with an absolute avalanche of allegations that go so far beyond the initial claims. Since his arrest last year, more cases have been filed, each one more shocking than the last. The accusations paint this horrifying picture of someone who allegedly his power and influence, creating an environment where harm and intimidation were supposedly everyday tools of control. Diddy's legal team, of course, has denied absolutely everything, calling the allegations completely baseless and vowing to fight them with everything they've got.
Now, this particular defense attorney's reason for quitting wasn't really a reason at all, making his departure a lot more puzzling.
And yet the evidence piling up against Diddy is getting harder and harder to ignore. From videos that allegedly show truly troubling behavior to testimonies from individuals who claim to have witnessed or experienced harm firsthand, the narrative is just undeniably damning. One of the most talked about pieces of evidence is that surveillance footage CNN aired last year, showing what appeared to be a physical altercation between Diddy and his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. The video from 2016 has become a central point of contention, with Diddy's lawyers claiming it was altered and manipulated. Yet it's so hard to argue with what the footage clearly shows, a moment that speaks volumes about the dynamics of their relationship. Cassie's lawyer has completely dismissed Diddy's claims about the video being doctored, calling the argument disingenuous and expressing total confidence that the footage will hold up in court. And let's not forget, this video is just one tiny tiny piece of a much larger puzzle. Authorities have conducted raids on Diddy's properties, seizing items that could potentially be used as evidence. The sheer scope of the investigations is absolutely staggering, and it's clear that the legal teams on both sides are preparing for an absolutely epic battle. Meanwhile, Jay-Z is taking a completely different approach. While Diddy's legal team has been playing defense, Jay-Z's camp has been much more proactive, going after accusers and their lawyers with defamation lawsuits. This strategy seems designed to send a crystal clear message: false claims won't be tolerated and those who make them will face serious consequences. But it's such a risky move, one that could completely backfire if new evidence emerges to support the allegations against him. For now, though, Jay-Z appears confident, maintaining his innocence and focusing entirely on clearing his name.
Okay, so last hour when we left off, you had asked me, did Tony Buzbee respond to Jay-Z?
Yes.
And he did. So he responded to...
What's absolutely mind-blowing is how these cases have pulled in so many other names, creating this massive web of interconnected legal battles. From Diddy's former associates to individuals who claim to have been directly or indirectly affected by the actions of both men, the list of people involved just keeps growing and growing. And then there are all the corporate entities, companies and brands that have worked with Diddy and Jay-Z over the years. Some have quickly distanced themselves, while others have remained completely silent, waiting to see how things play out. The stakes aren't just personal, they're financial, reputational, and cultural. But what's even more alarming is the growing conversation about the role of enablers in these cases. Whispers of high-profile individuals who allegedly looked the other way, or worse, actively participated, have begun to surface. Could there be other powerful names revealed as investigations deepen? Speculation is already running wild, with insiders suggesting that some of the biggest players in entertainment and business might soon have to answer some very uncomfortable questions. The possibility that this web of accusations might implicate more than just Diddy and Jay-Z is creating an atmosphere of absolute unease, with many wondering who else might be dragged into the spotlight next. Adding to the tension is the recent bombshell that several of Diddy's former bodyguards and staff members have reportedly been subpoenaed. These individuals, once part of his trusted inner circle, could potentially provide absolutely damning testimony or, conversely, help bolster his claims of innocence. The stakes for these witnesses are incredibly high. Some face their own legal risks, while others may feel intense pressure to protect their former employer or distance themselves entirely. This courtroom drama is about so much more than just the defendant. It's quickly becoming a stage for everyone who was once part of their orbit.
Buzbee is saying, I did that not because we want to shake you down, but because you tried to scare my client. So she wants to come out swinging too. She's not backing down.
At the same time, legal experts keep pointing out just how unprecedented this entire situation is. Cases of this magnitude, spanning years of alleged incidents, multiple jurisdictions, and involving such high-profile defendants, are almost unheard of. The complexity of the legal strategies being deployed, from defamation lawsuits to countersuits, has left even the most seasoned attorneys absolutely stunned by the spectacle. It's not just a legal battle, it's a public relations war, a test of influence, and a fight for survival in one of the most high-stakes arenas imaginable. And with every new twist and turn, the stakes only continue to escalate. As the legal battles rage on, one thing is crystal clear. This isn't just about Diddy or Jay-Z, it's about power, influence, and the systems that have allowed certain individuals to operate unchecked for so long. It's about the incredible courage of those who come forward with their stories and the massive challenges they face in seeking justice. And it's about the broader implications for an industry that has so often been accused of turning a blind eye to truly troubling behavior. The next few months will be absolutely critical. Trials are set to begin, and the outcomes could have far-reaching consequences. Will Diddy's legal team succeed in discrediting the evidence against him? Will Jay-Z's defamation lawsuits deter future claims? Or will they open the door to even more scrutiny? And what about the accusers, many of whom have risked absolutely everything to speak out? Will their stories be heard, or will they be drowned out by the legal maneuvering of powerful defense teams? Let us know your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned for more as we dig deeper into this absolutely explosive story. The explosive story. The explosive...